It is a
Alrighty.
bombing 90
You're welcome to
degrees
Thinking
in
Suit
Southern
117.
California. And you're listening to PHP Ugly, episode 117, the premier PHP podcast in Southern California and Colorado Springs, and certain parts of Japan, according to metrics. I am your host, Eric Van Johnson, coming to you live with my partners, John Congdon.
Did you say it was 117 degrees? Is that a coincidence? I think
no,
not.
And to his right, the bearded phenomenon, Thomas Rideout.
Thank you.
Man, this all sorts of weird.
Haven't been called a phenomenon in a while.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever been called a phenomenon?
I
guess
have.
That's a better question.
Yeah.
Been called pedophile a few times, but not a phenomenon. What?
Only by you.
Way to bring the show down.
Only that one time. Only that one time by Elon Musk.
How's everybody doing?
Maybe by PHP Drama. You may have been called that then.
I think I stayed out of that pretty well.
Because it was before.
If you're just joining us and you have not listened to the previous 116 episodes, we are three developers whose day-to-day lives is to code the inner tubes. We don't do that great of a job at it. And this is basically our time of the week to get together and fascinate at the fact that we still make a living at doing this. So there's no guarantees we're going to talk about PHP. There's no guarantees we're going to talk about coding. But
I'm just jump right in and start now. Did you see my tweet today?
Yeah.
You had several. What's up with that?
I have this weird thing, and it's driving me.
Use your words, John. Use your words.
I have a unit test that, if I run just the test file, works perfectly. I run the same test in the suite of, I think it's upwards of 1,400 tests right now. It gets to the same test file and barfs all over the place, and cannot figure out why. And the tests are very simple. All it does is call an exec on a command using absolute paths on the file system. Don't judge. I know exec is bad, blah, 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 but that's what I do. And it's repeatable, always at the same place. And just before we start recording, I actually fired up Xdebug and stepped through it. And what I was seeing prior was I output the command I'm running. It matches in both cases. The output I get from the exec command when I run just the test file is correct. Otherwise, I get a empty array when I run the full suite. And the return var, which is the exit code of the script, on success is 0. When I run it as part of the full suite, it was -1. So I finally fire up Xdebug, step through it. And what I'm actually getting is a fatal error exec unable to fork. And I have no clue why. And that's what I'm in the middle researching just before talking to you two fools. It's driving me nuts. I'm absolutely hating life.
I can see why. Yeah.
Memory usage.
You would think, but I'm running free-m in my Docker container, and at the point it fails, I've already tried that. Because that's where I learned to do this, and I still have over 150 megs free at that point.
I believe it's a percentage issue. Not necessarily running out of memory, but at a certain percentage of memory free, fork won't occur.
Well, I wonder what that would be, because when I start out, I'm at 714.
See, the Stack Overflow I'm looking at says once the process hits 57% in memory usage, it starts to pump out unable to fork.
Huh. Well, thank you for that. I will have to check that out. The crappy part is I'm actually trying to solve another issue that is not happening in my Docker container, but is happening on Scrutinizer, and that's a completely different issue, and I can't even figure that one out. So unit tests right now, as of about 12 hours ago, have been kicking my ass.
Yeah, I don't like how poorly unit testing releases memory. You might want to try tossing in some cleanup, GC cleanup.
Maybe.
Hey, can I just
Would be
ask
better.
before you go on, Thomas, is John breaking up for you? Because he's breaking up pretty bad for me.
No, seems to be working fine for me.
All right, it must be me. Let me turn up Dropbox. Dropbox has been kicking my ass lately.
That sounds very familiar. I think I just said that exact same phrase.
Yeah, Dropbox has just been killing me. Let me kill a few processes here, actually. All right. I'll assume it was me. Not that it matters with the local recordings, but okay, continue.
Thanks. I'll look at that. We don't have to spend any more time on it. It's just been my pain point over the past 12 hours.
Well, I've been looking at a boatload of PHP stuff, despite Eric's protest. You know,
I don't remember protesting.
You know, this week is DEF CON.
Okay.
And at DEF CON, a security group called RipsTech announced new PHP exploitation techniques.
Is there supposed to be called Hearing Impaired Con now?
I might actually be wrong about this week being DEF CON. It might have been last week. Damn it.
We're supposed to be PP now.
I'm a week behind here.
Person, John.
However, they've announced several new PHP exploitation techniques using stream wrappers, FAR metadata, and all doing PHP object injection. Kind of stuff that you really, really don't want. So I've been reading up on those. And I've been reading up on an interesting article that tells me that all the other stuff I've been talking about the last few weeks is dumb. I read an article about basically use associative arrays never, as well as an article about...
That's by Garfield, right?
So that was that Garfield one we talked about.
Yeah, at Krell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Larry Garfield.
Yeah, and
agree with it.
He did a couple of these types of don't do this posts, and I've read a bunch of them lately. And this article just says, well, what's wrong with articles that say foo is better than bar? The example he gives is the one that gets brought up a lot, which is single quotes versus double quotes, and why it doesn't really matter, and you should use the one that you want to use. And almost all of these tests about which one is better than the other one are not addressing an actual problem that's being encountered. They're just a cute little, this one's more optimized than this one, or this one is better by billionth of a second than this one.
Not exactly true. They do different things. So it does matter which one you're using depending on how you're using it.
Sure.
So that's the
point.
I mean, as far as performance,
interchangeably.
It's no, you can't exactly use them interchangeably. I mean, for example, if you're throwing, at least in my experience, and I just ran into this recently, if you're trying to throw a new line in an echo or something, and you do it with single quotes, it's going to literally print out whatever you put it between those single quotes. It's not going to translate that new line. So it does matter.
I use PHP EOL now.
Okay. It does matter whether you're using single or double.
You're right.
Performance-wise, all these articles I've been reading are about performance, and this latest article stands to say that what they're achieving is not incredibly improved performance. What they're doing is getting you to change your behaviors in a way that you don't necessarily need to. as they're measuring things in iterations of millions, when the reality is op cache is getting put in place after the first run of your program. Things are not running like that in production, and an actual problem isn't being solved. If there's a real slowdown in your system, you should identify that, not focus on never using associative arrays ever.
Micro optimization is stupid.
Right. I think we run into that a lot in our industry because, I mean, we geek out on this stuff, and you hear about, the complex challenges that a company like Facebook has to address and how they're addressing it. And all of a sudden, Fred from mom and pop's coffee shop feels like, oh yeah, he needs to do all that optimization to his blog as well. It's like, when you start hitting, 3 trillion hits, start to worry about some of that stuff. But for now, just worry about getting good code up.
Yeah, that's the gist of it, is that this sort of endless fascination with the faster way of doing things is micro-optimization. It's something that you don't need to be doing, and it's probably wasting your time and money.
I only do it to stop PHP Storm from yelling at me. And it's a simple option enter and change them.
John showed me that today. Option enter. John was showing me all sorts of keyboard shortcuts today. I'm trying to change my workflow around a little bit. Trying to reduce my. Although I'm back to dual screens. I told the team today that I think I was going to do away with my dual screens and go back to one screen. And
you still want dual screens. It's how you're using it and how you spend too much of your mental focus on things like Slack. You need to reduce the notifications there. Only respond if you're spoken to. Don't try to be caught up in everything.
I'm not in the best positions to do that, though.
I mean, there's certain ones where you know which channels you have to focus on, and then everything else should only be if you're mentioned. Like,
listen,
you don't need the.
I'm going to check what's going on in Lair chat, Slack. I'll check. Okay, breaking news. I'm going to scoop the podcast itself. I shouldn't, because I'll jinx it. Lair Chat Live is coming back. Coming back with vengeance, baby.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. We took a break at Laricon 2017, like right before New York, I think was the last Lair Chat Live podcast. And then, Jesus, are you okay, Thomas?
You're muting backwards. You're muting as you inhale.
Good God, man.
Whoops.
We stopped recording back in 2017. And I guess I can say I was a pretty established part of the panel by then. And
you injected yourself pretty thoroughly at that point.
Life just got really busy for everybody. And I mean, all through 2017, 2018, we didn't record. And we all got together in Chicago this year and said, "Hey, what are we doing? Are we gonna start recording again?" And sure enough, everybody's excited to do it. A few people came up and said, "Hey, what's the story? Is Lair Chat coming back?" And we're like, "Yeah, we at the time we were thinking, we didn't really go anywhere, but we kind of did. We didn't record for a year, so there was a very long hiatus, but." Yeah, we're going back, and we're changing the format a little bit. They're going to do more of a kind of this style where previously it was all about the live stream, and the idea would be people would watch the live stream, and they actually didn't start doing the podcast. I started doing the podcast. That's really kind of how I got involved with them. I'm like, hey, I'll pull the audio off the live stream and put that together for a podcast, whoever wants to subscribe to it. And that's kind of the format where they'll still do the live stream like we do the live stream now, but it won't necessarily be scheduled every other Thursday. sort of live stream. Like they'll probably move it around because there's a real desire to get some guests that are over in Europe on the show. And so moving those time zones around a little bit, we'll do some post editing, which is something we haven't ever done before as well, for the actual podcast. So it's going to be fun. And I'll save some of the secrets for the actual show, but the panel is changing around a little bit. We've got a few new people who have committed to being regulars, and it should be really exciting. I'm excited. I like those guys, you know. Well, we were going to record today, and I'm like, you know, the idea was the three of us, Matt, Sean, and myself. We've been working on rebooting it and working through the format. And they're like, okay, well, let's just record tomorrow. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We've got more team members we've got to take in consideration. You know, let's ask everybody what time works for everyone. So they said, okay, that's fair. We didn't record today. Instead, we put the question out, and now we're just trying to nail down a time, which is actually not always the easiest thing to do because half the team, actually more than half the team, is on East Coast time, and Sean and myself are on Pacific Coast time. So trying to find a time that works for everybody here is going to be a little challenging, but we'll see. We'll get it. We'll figure it out.
My question is, has Sean heard what we've said about Laravel in the last year?
Sean is a regular listener. He calls. I told you he called me out when I forgot to mention he was the 6th wave PHP speaker I ran into at Laracon. So he actually listens fairly regularly, and
so he knows who he's getting into bed with. He knows that the shit runs downhill.
I'm always surprised he lets me be part of the show, because I definitely feel like, as much of a supporter as I am of Laravel, and as much as I get on my soapbox as about the Laravel community and making the community stronger, I definitely feel like I am probably of people in the Laravel community, if you want to say I'm in the Laravel community, I'm probably one of the harshest critics of some of the things that go on.
I'd say, as host of Larachat, as one of the hosts of Larachat, you're in the Laravel community.
Yeah, and so I'm
but he
definitely
barged in himself. It was like, let me into your community.
This is about me now.
I've told him in the past, I'm like, dude, if you want me to step aside, I totally understand, because there is the image, right? I mean, you know, I bring baggage. I don't care about this show, right? I mean, this is us. This is us being us. So we do pull negative attention for sure. Yeah, and so I'm always offering to like throttle myself. I'm like, hey, you know, if you don't want me to talk about this stuff, you know, just, you know, I won't talk about it. Don't ask me about this topic. And Sean's pretty much like, no, we want everybody's opinion. So you're part of the show. You know, we want your opinion, even if it doesn't agree with what we say or agree with our views. Now, this is where we want to talk through it.
We've said at length how nice and good a guy Sean is.
We did?
We do. We have several times.
When?
And
just kidding.
The question is Sean just being nice? Is he just,
he's Canadian.
No, Eric,
it's Canadian.
It's fine. Don't
it's
worry.
By law, he has to be nice. He doesn't.
That black mark on the podcast by having you here isn't a bruise; it's a distinguishing mark.
I've tried to kick myself off the show several times.
Eric, you gave me a heart attack like 5 minutes ago. You mentioned Wave PHP, so I pulled up the site, and it's 33 days away.
Oh,
my
33 days away.
Wow. Well, 33 days and
as of the time of this recording. Yeah.
I've got a deployment to do as well. I'm trying to clean up the sponsor list a little bit and highlight the different level sponsors. So I was working.
I have to completely change Thomas's feature too.
Why? Right. Oh, let's talk about that. We didn't talk about it. So Thomas came through for us, for the listeners of the show, the regular listeners.
Okay,
of the show.
I made you edit the podcast, so I came through for me.
That's true. Thomas said that if I edited the podcast, he would add a feature to the Wave PHP site where you could plan your own schedule and print it out. So you could pick what talks you wanted to go to, and then print that out and have it with you. And he did it. What do you want to change about it, John? I thought it was fairly simple.
We've talked about it from a organizer standpoint. We missed the mark as far as why aren't we capturing that data? Why aren't we saying, oh, we've got X people that want to go to this talk and that talk, and be able to plan where people are going to be a little bit better as well.
Because that is
just
excess data that will only bother you. Do not do that.
No,
do not do that.
He's got a good point. I mean, if we can get an idea of how many are going to be on each track.
You won't get an idea of it, though. I guarantee you this is going to be a fringe use tool.
Yeah, he's got a point. Damn it. I hate when you have a point.
This isn't going to give you any kind of accurate... Remember that to get an accurate measure in statistics, you're talking about 25 to 35% of people replying. So you'd have to have like 25% of your attendees planning their schedule in the next 33 days for you to get anything that would be even remotely statistically valuable. So do not waste time on that. You will seriously just bother yourself more. You've got other shit to worry about.
Why'd you call it plan my trip and not plan my conference? Just curious.
I don't know. It was literally the first line of code I typed was just that line where I was
Why
like,
didn't
what
you
do I
write a
call
space?
this?
I don't know. I
Why didn't you put a
pasted it.
space
It said
between
trip.
Why didn't you put a space between the radio button and the A?
No, the big problem there, actually, I need to push a pull request for that, is that I didn't wrap the radio box around the text attending. So you should be able to click the word attending and it should check the radio box, and it doesn't. So I need to fix that and send you guys a pull request for that. But I did fix the CSS. In case you guys noticed, I did fix the layout so that
you did change the CSS.
it looks much nicer.
Questionable, but what's with the space between register and the schedule? Registration and the schedule. Why'd you do that?
I didn't mean to.
Okay. I might fix that. I don't know.
I looking at that code, I did not like the way it was laid out. It was super dynamic.
Super awesome.
And the last complaint is the very last box on the right. I don't know why we're hashing this out on.
Yes, I actually had to make all of the boxes bigger just so that you could still mark that one as attending, because it was hidden because the Z index on it is wrong. And
and this has got we could change this title and take out that because you haven't piece. That's a very long title.
Yeah. I got as long as I was gonna spend on the podcast editing into this, and that was as much as I was gonna keep working on it. I got
all you're willing to do.
I got 4 hours into this. So I mean, it was, I think just getting the code base installed and spun up took me an hour.
What? Crazy.
I don't have your guys' code base says now run Valet.
What?
I don't have Valet.
Why not?
Do I have them in this repo?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It was like, just do this and this and this, and then run Valet, and then you're all set.
Whatever. You should just run Valet and you wouldn't have an issue.
Well, I don't have a Mac.
You should have a Mac. You would have an issue.
I considered it. I'm at, like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years at this job now. And my original machine, it's showing its age. So I considered asking for a Mac to replace my machine. But I can't do it. I can't validate having a Mac. I could double the RAM.
Didn't they just replace your machine a couple of years ago?
No, they replaced a hard drive.
Just when they replaced the whole ThinkPad for you not that long ago.
Nah. My personal machine, which is connected with Synergy, needs to be replaced. It's really on its last legs. I mean, while we're talking, I keep getting notifications that my GPU is at 95 degrees Celsius, which is bad.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. 95 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
God.
I had to buy a case fan because my computer turned off the other day. It just is like, this is too hot. Bye, and just shut off. And I'll let you know, diagnosing why a computer just randomly shuts off is the funnest form of diagnosing a computer.
Mm.
But yeah, as it turns out, both fans failed on my graphics card and the case fan failed. So the graphics card was just sitting there cooking itself, running a YouTube video about cats.
Your former cats or kitty cats?
Kitty cats
Jeez.
and Pew News.
Pew News. I don't know that one.
PewDiePie.
What is that?
I know. I've heard of Pewdie. Isn't he the longest running YouTuber or some crap
He's
like
still the most popular YouTuber, and it's fascinating because
What's he do?
he looks at things people send him and makes a comment, and that's literally it. And it's bizarre how he's changed formats and styles over like literally 10 years, where now he's like he was some kid in Sweden and now he's getting married or is married, and he's had all these controversies in his business, and it's just, he's a really fascinating person.
What's his business?
YouTube.
YouTube?
He's the
That's-
most popular YouTuber. He's
He's got.
filthy rich.
He's popular for being popular, or what? I'm missing something.
Yeah,
He was-
Essentially, yeah, he was one of the first video game streamers, like way before Twitch, when Justin TV was still a thing, and he invented the reaction format when he did horror games. He invented so much of what YouTube is nowadays, and
He's got 65 million subscribers.
Yeah, and his
That's a lot
videos
of
regularly, like he'll
subscribers.
release a new video and it'll get 8 million views that day.
That's
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
I said it first.
He's a
I
fascinating
said it
character.
more emphatically.
Touche.
I mean, really, his thing is just fan service. He just does what his audience tells him to do, and he does a daily update where he does the thing his fans were clamoring for the day before. And it's, I don't know. I was never into his content before. The stuff he did, I didn't care about. But the stuff he's doing now is on such a different level that it's quite funny.
What's he doing now?
It's fan interaction. It's just fan interaction.
Oh, whatever.
That's good.
I'm done. I'm done with YouTube.
I still
Yeah,
watch way
but-
too much of it.
So do I. I mean, that fortunately, Fortnite has pretty much run its course on me. I'm getting tired of the Fortnite videos, but there's always something that replaces it. I think somebody posted in our Slack channel a link to a guy who does computer repairs, and I've been only watching his channel now. It's
A week or two ago, my recommended list like completely changed on me. Like, I mean, it has videos and topics that I was watching like a year or two ago, and all of a sudden that's what's coming back into my recommended feed.
Hmm.
But that video you're talking about, I was shocked. I don't know how that came up, but watching a MacBook where the person took it to the Mac store and a Best Buy.
Oh, the
uh,
LTT Forever Broken Mac.
Is that what it was called? I don't know. It came down to a chip on the SMC where everyone kept trying to tell them they had to replace the entire machine, or to fix it they were going to lose their data.
They want to
And-
replace the board. Yeah.
Yeah, and the tech was like, "Why would you lose your data? Watch how easy it is to take out the SSD or the SSD drive, and
Oh,
here's
you
how
might
easy
be
it is to
talking
put it
about
back
something
in."
else then.
Yeah, so he took the Mac apart after this person was told, like, hey, if we fix this, you're going to lose all your data. And he's showing that once you get the cover off, it's one screw to take out the SSD. And then you put it back in. It's one screw to put it back in. And then you didn't have to replace the entire board. And I'm fascinated that people can get into this much detail, but he put the board under the microscope to find out where the issue was. And it was like, oh, look, this specific chip has basically fried. And he took the chip out and looked at an actual pad where it connects to the chip, and it was corroded. So he showed how he cleaned the corrosion, how he soldered a new chip back in place, put the SMC back in place, and all of a sudden there's power to the board again. And the machine was fine.
And like he said, he's like the real crime here is I'm going to send this back to the shop that sent it to me, and they're going to charge the customer what I'm charging them plus, a little something for themselves.
I don't know, that's fine by me. Now, I don't want to get into a Mac bashing thing.
Yes, you do.
I'm not. No, I really don't. I really don't, because you get so upset and you've already got whiskey
I
in
do not
you.
get upset about it. I do not get upset about it.
So
I love my whiskey.
Mac's not doing real great right now. The
They're
new
$1 trillion.
Mac,
Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about.
but yes, they're $1 trillion company that doesn't pay American taxes. They
Trump says
they
that's okay,
recently had an issue with their brand new MacBooks not running at the CPU spec that turned out to be a software issue, they say. It was a bad key on the CPU that they patched in, and so now it's running the way it's supposed to. But some users are reporting static coming out of the speakers on the MacBook when performing normal functions. And a lot of issues in their supply chain repairing.
To be fair, all right. I mean, you're very quick to point the fingers at Mac, and I know you feel like I'm always defending Mac, which I don't feel like I am. But I like to put things in perspective. And to be fair, you name any other company that sells any other model of their laptop as much as the Macs do their laptops, and tell me they don't have recalls. Tell me that they don't have problems with those mass-produced laptops. You can't.
I can't.
Right. I mean. Well,
I'm saying this is a run of bad luck with Apple. There's a lot of criticism about a lack of innovation in the devices. That the touchscreen bar, the touchscreen bar is totally garbage. Steve Jobs would never allow for a mouse that requires it to be flipped upside down to charge.
I don't know anything about that. I don't use Apple mice, but yeah.
I like my Apple mouse. I just hate the charging.
I think that their current valuation has a lot more to do with the ubiquity of the devices and the fact that everyone uses them than the fact that they're punching out a really high quality product right now. Mm-hmm. And the big flagship product, the iPhone X, is being just destroyed in the cell phone market technologically. Samsung's released a much better phone. They're releasing the Note 9 next week, which is an incredible device. I don't know if you guys have seen. Have you guys seen the Note 9?
I've seen a camera demonstration between the Note 9 and the iPhone X by Casey Neistat, who is a big Samsung person. Like I don't necessarily know that he works for them, but he is very involved with Samsung. Yeah, but they pay him. He is affiliated with Samsung. And yesterday or the day before, he released a side-by-side video comparison showing the difference. And I got to say, I did like the iPhone picture better than the Samsung Note 9.
So here's an interesting thing that they've done. You know that the Note series has a pen on it. Mm-hmm. The pen is now a Bluetooth LE device that takes 1 minute to charge and has a 90-minute life on the charge. And you can walk away from your phone and press the button. You can walk away from your phone and press a button on the S Pen device, and it will take a picture of you. So you can set the phone up somewhere and then hold the pen behind your back and tap the button on the pen, and it'll take a picture.
I can do that with my watch. So
You can also do other air gestures now with it and a bunch of other interesting things.
can I say Axio and get my broom?
What?
No.
He made it sound like a magic
No.
wand. I was just wondering if I could get my magic broom.
No.
Come
There's
on.
no-
You
no
guys aren't
brooms.
Harry Potter fans. What the hell? Who am I talking to? I'm done. I'm leaving you guys.
No, I'm really impressed with the innovation in the Note 9. It's $1,000 flat, which is a lot of money.
That's
Um,
insane.
Yeah.
What do you think the Pixel 3 is going to come out at? Because I'm just biding my time because my Pixel 1 is pretty much dead. It's limping along, and I'm waiting for another month or two for the Pixel 3 to come out.
Looking at prices, $899. That's my guess.
Probably.
And that's what
But-
mine was $899. My S9 Plus.
Yeah, I want the Pixel 3 XL.
Now, I when I first got this phone, I raved about it, and you guys thought I was an idiot because I haven't had a new phone in so long. But it is an amazing device. It's a full screen, no notch, none of that garbage.
The notch does go away. You stop noticing it pretty quickly.
But almost every other device that's getting released doesn't have it now.
Supposedly the Pixel 3 is going to have it.
Pixel 3 has a big one.
Yeah.
But there's several companies like Oppo that are releasing phones that have a motorized camera now. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah, and I think that's ridiculous because motorized crap's gonna fail, or you're gonna
I
have the
don't
camera
know.
out and you're gonna drop it. It's not gonna last. I think that's a fad. It's gonna be like, oh, this is so cool, but at the end, it's not. The motor's gonna fail, or you're gonna end up hitting the camera in a way that you break your device.
Do you know who Michelle Wolf is?
Yeah,
This is slightly off topic, but she made a joke that said that there's already a license for being allowed to have a baby. You just go to the licensing office and show them your phone, and if your screen is cracked, you're not allowed to have babies. I couldn't possibly, having teenagers, I couldn't possibly agree more. The number of destroyed phones I have in my junk drawer is ridiculous.
Oh, my kids went through them like nobody's business. I mean, I'd get them a phone, and within a month, it was cracked, it was busted, something was wrong with it.
Hey Thomas, you want to hear something funny?
Oh, I'd love to.
Just before this episode, I saw a tweet. Somebody retweeted something and added a question to it. How do I explain Bitcoin to my grandpa? And the answer was somebody else's tweet that says, imagine if keeping your car idling 24/7 produced solved Sudokus you could trade for heroin.
I think you might be onto something.
That's pretty fun.
Sudoku coin.
I love how they included the fact of you keep your car running 24/7.
Exactly. Oh crap! We hit a high this month, this day, 6,500.
Yeah, how have the markets been looking? I don't have any more cryptocurrency. I sold it all for a pair of shoes.
It's not good. But the problem is he put $2 into cryptocurrency to buy a $200 pair of shoes.
Yeah, perfect.
No, it was a gift, and it devalued by half by the time I spent it. No, I had a series of conversations with my wife about how I want to have more money to spend, and she said, "Fine, spend money," and I spent money, and then I realized that I was being an asshole, and she needed money to spend too, so I gave her the rest of the Ethereum that I had for a pair of running shoes. Sometimes you realize that you've been an asshole and you have to make up for it.
No, I don't. I mean, people are constantly telling me, and I refuse to acknowledge it.
That's the bourbon speaking.
Scotch. The
It's,
whiskey.
have to correct me. Always have to correct me.
It's a whiskey.
Gotta be right.
You always have to be right. This is why we keep having this argument.
You're the one arguing. I'm just right.
Is this about the Max? Is this about what I said about the Max?
I don't know what you. Why do you think I have such a love for Max? I really
Because
don't.
you keep buying them. Because you
Because they're better than
lost
anything
one
else
and
out
bought
there.
another one.
Yeah, because I couldn't walk into a Dell store and buy a Dell. Not that I would have if there was one, but
Okay, see?
but yeah, I mean, first thing so here's the thing. Okay, I will admit, I made the decision a while ago that if I were to go try a Windows machine again, if I were to go back to a Windows machine, I would go and buy the machine from Microsoft, like buy a Microsoft, because
Oh, the
I
Yogas
appreciate that.
Oh, the Surface, that's the one.
Yeah, whatever they have, whatever happens to be their brand. And then I went to a Microsoft store and I saw what comes on the Surface, like still all the built-in crap that's just part of Windows
Yeah,
that isn't the
It's real
Yeah.
bad.
holy God, man. It's like, how does anybody get anything done on those machines? I mean, you've got to spend the first 3 days just cleaning that crap up. It's like they,
And it comes back when the auto updates run.
and these stupid games like jewel beads and stuff. It's like, what
There's
what
been
is
a
this?
number of complaints about people who have Candy Crush reinstalled every
Candy
couple of
Crush.
weeks.
That's
on
what
their-
it is.
on
Candy Crush.
Yeah, no, what the direction that Microsoft took in Windows 10 is nightmarish. And it's the same direction that game companies for freemium games went, which is bizarre for an operating system. So I'm not promoting Windows in any way. I'm saying a Linux laptop. I'm saying a ThinkPad running Ubuntu is a
I've
great
seriously
development
thought-
machine.
I mean, I was just on the website today, or not today, just on the website this week of System 76.
They're already lying.
Configure the machine, put it in my shopping cart. I could probably pull it up and show it to you right now. It's probably still there. I am ready to pull the trigger just to have it. My only hesitation with it is I've become such a prude with like the feel of my keyboards. Like, I really want to get my hands on one of these machines before I pay for it, because that just matters. So, and that's my biggest issue with my current Mac is that damn touch bar. My big paws keep hitting the touch bar, and I keep messing up what I'm doing. And had I known that,
when we were working today, he was typing something into GitHub and hit the back button, and luckily GitHub is good enough to, as you're typing, it stores.
Really?
It's got to store it in your local cache or whatever.
What a fucking
local storage.
For me, that's a returnable offense. If the keys placement is so bad that I just hit back when I'm trying to.
Part of it's my
awful.
I mean, part of it is the way my hands rest on my keyboard, and I've
Mhm.
always, like, being a Vim guy. I think part of it's being a Vim guy. I've always had like my pinky hover around the escape key, and with this Mac, that's a mistake because it's so damn sensitive. And had had I really spent some time on the Mac with the touch bar, I would have probably. And it's not only the touch bar, to be honest with you; it's the keys themselves. I'm not a big fan of.
Really,
I
I like the keys.
Do you?
Yeah,
I can't get used to the keys. I'm not a huge fan. They're not. I'm getting accustomed to them. Like I'm starting to anticipate the feel of it, but I'm not liking them for sure. And so
My biggest
back to
issue-
what I was saying is, if I could get my hands on like a System 76 laptop and feel the keys, and I would totally buy one, even with the fact that I have a new Mac that's just a couple months old. I would buy one just to see how well it worked for me, how well it became part of my workflow.
But my issue with it is, I mean, I was a Linux guy, from early on. Loved Linux, had Linux when I was in college, when I started my first couple of jobs, and I switched to Mac, I think around 2004. And I think when OS X came out and became an extension of, it wasn't Linux, what was FreeBSD, whatever it was at the time. And I like the interface a lot. And then having people around me that use Linux and the issues they run into, sure, day to day it works great, but when it doesn't, it really doesn't. It's a pain in the butt, such as issues with communication apps that just don't work the same way. Is very frustrating when you're working in a team of people and you're like, we have to get stuff done, and you can't communicate because you're on Linux. It's just frustrating.
I think those days are over with, though. I have
No,
had
they're
no
not.
problems.
They're not over. I mean, we just experienced it like a year or so ago with the movement of Slack. I mean, the Slack client, the Linux users had to use the browser version, and then finally a native client became available to them like months and months after the Mac and Windows clients were out. Then when Slack introduced new features like the ability to make phone calls, again, the Linux version didn't have that ability. It was months behind. Even things like, we have clients that at the time were big Skype users, and the Linux people would have to go to the web version of Skype, and it was never like completely functional. So it's still very much a case where the Linux is definitely a third-class citizen. Like,
Oh, I agree.
whatever is being done, they're like, oh yeah, and we have a Linux version in the works. If this is successful, maybe we'll come out with a Linux version. So it's still very much a challenge. But I know for me personally, like my development workflow, everything I do right now would work on Linux. PHP Storm, Visual Studio Code, obviously things like Vim, all that stuff. The only thing I would have to make a compromise with is I would probably have to find a new database client. I know MySQL has tools out there that I haven't used in a while, so maybe they've improved. But I'm really happy with when I'm working with MySQL. I'm really happy with SQL Pro on Mac, which even that doesn't translate to Windows. I don't know what I would use on Windows. And then there's a new client out called Table Plus that I'm liking a lot as well.
Yeah, PHP Storm has Data Grip too, which might be an option.
Yeah, I just integrated database.
I'm trying to like Data Grip, and first thing I don't understand what the difference between Data Grip and the built-in database interface in PHP Storm is, because it all seems the same.
I think it is the same. It's just separated out of the IDE.
Nowhere near
I haven't
what
tried
SQL
it, so
Pro does.
I mean, I've never used an SQL client, so I don't really have a.
You've always gone command line?
Yeah.
I did up until a few years ago. I was always just the MySQL client, and I'm still comfortable with that. But having the SQL Pro in there has really changed how I do things, and I think for the better.
What does it do different?
What does it do different? I think.
I mean, for me, somebody who's not strong with the MySQL command line, and I know enough to get me around to do like basic selects and things like that. But for me, it gives me that quick interface to my database. Like the moment I can click on I can click on a table, I can see all the rows. I can click on a row, I can, it's just click, point and click.
The really quick inline editing is probably the biggest advantage. When I'm trying to do sleuthing or trying to dive into an issue, debugging something, and trying to click around in the database, really easy to click on foreign keys to get me to rows and other tables without having to do selects from them.
And even the ability to filter really quick is a feature of it.
Huh.
I mean, it doesn't do anything that you can't do in the command line. I mean, it doesn't have any special powers or anything. So we're not. At least I'm not implying that. It's just like John says, it's just a little bit more streamlined, a little easier. You don't have to write update statements to update a row. You just double click on a column and you update your column.
See, what I would want is an explain on all the queries I'm writing. I'd love to be able to write out a query and then have MySQL pop out and say, here's a place where this query is suboptimal or even bad. And in a sort of a related note, do you guys know about random in MySQL? Order by random?
No. What do you mean? Know about it?
It's a method for grabbing random rows. So if you just need like 10 random entries from something, you'd say order by random, take 10, and it'll give you 10 random entries. But now this might have changed, but I don't think it has. It's incredibly, incredibly slow.
Well, it makes sense because it's probably got to pull the entire data set and then give you. Then it needs to randomize it and give you a random 10 versus
not a random 10.
The first 10.
A random 1. Because random is random. So you have to pull one random record and then read the entire data set again and pull another random record and make sure it's not in the list of existing random records, then read the whole data set again and pull a random record. It's bad. It's real bad. But it is the default behavior in Laravel when you say random record. In Eloquent, if you say random record, I can't remember what the exact method for it is, but yeah, if you say give me a random record in Laravel, it will do it the worst possible way, which I found.
Well, is that a Laravel thing or is that?
It is a Laravel thing. It's an Eloquent thing.
So that's not an issue with. That's not an issue.
No, I'm sorry. It's both. It's a MySQL issue because order by random is a really, really bad way of doing anything in MySQL, and then it's a Laravel thing because they use it. There are other ways with sequential records. There are other ways of doing random that are much, much faster and much better. And I was surprised to find that the Eloquent way of doing it was the bad way. But yeah,
I've never had a need for that. So
I've always been a CLI.
I thought random was part of a collection. Well, I mean, I know you can do random on a collection, and that
yes.
doesn't make.
That's fine. That's totally different.
Okay. All right.
When you're pulling random on an actual query, you're saying it uses MySQL's random, and
it's a true random. It's not a random based off of a previous read. It's an actually true random. So it's very bad. It's very bad for your tables. Bad. I am. I'm a bad boy. I'm the bad boy of PHP.
All right, is that it? Are we wrapping up? I think we're at a good spot.
No, you have a discussion note here that I put on the next discussion point.
It's perfect timing, man. What? I got way too drunk today. I had a Moscow something at dinner.
Moscow Mule.
Yeah. I had that at dinner, and now I'm drinking my scotch, and I'm messed up, man. What do I have up here?
They usually put too much ginger beer in a Moscow Mule.
Actually, they didn't put enough in this one. It tasted kind of flat.
I had a problem.
Great Q&A at DEF CON last night. So this has got to be old. DEF CON couldn't have just happened because I added this on the 11th.
This last week, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Elon Musk right now? Because my opinion is don't have heroes.
Don't have heroes.
I don't know enough about the story. What's going on? What did he do?
So
very abrasive.
The first thing, Thomas's fascination with the Trello board I think we need to shut down the Trello board for a show because Tom is just too dependent on the Trello board. He wants to get to the cards right away. I've stopped adding cards. I've taken my lead from John.
Oh, I noticed. Yeah, I noticed. Both of you just failed miserably at your only jobs.
That's my only job. That's the only job we have to do is to add Trello card. Yeah, I wish that was my only job. What Thomas is referencing is my card in here. Elon Musk sent out a tweet. He said, "Great Q&A at DEF CON last night. Thanks for helping make Tesla and SpaceX more secure. Planning to open source Tesla vehicle security software for free use by other car makers. Extremely important to a safe, self-driving future for all." Now, I will say I can't confirm this. When I saw this article, I meant to go back and do some research, but I do believe this is not the first time Elon Musk has opened up and open sourced Tesla software. I'm pretty sure he's done this in the past. So essentially, I assume I wasn't there. I wasn't at DEF CON. I don't know the whole backstory, but it sounds like they allowed DEF CON participants to take a look at the security software for the Tesla vehicle, and they got some good feedback from DEF CON in doing that. So your question again is, what do I think of Elon Musk?
Well, things have been rough lately for Elon.
Well, how's this?
I think this started with launching the Roadster into space. Remember
what started? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
the criticism of Elon Musk as an icon in the industry is a lot of.
I think maybe I think perhaps he got a little bit more criticism about being a little self-absorbed. Maybe, right? Yes, sure, but and whatever.
He seems publicly on Twitter. He seems to have kind of become a dick.
I don't follow him close enough to have an opinion on that.
He was involved when the Thai kids were in the cave for like 2 weeks. He got involved in the project to help rescue them, and when he received criticism from somebody on the dive team, he called him pedo guy. And
what's that mean? Is that a bad word, pedo?
Pedophile, the word you called me earlier.
Okay.
Remember that in the beginning?
Yeah.
So he just randomly calls the guy a pedophile, and a lot of people on Twitter were like, what the fuck's going on? Like, he was forced to retract that and apologize. And now he hopped onto Twitter or some social media platform and said he's considering taking Tesla private. Which
the company Tesla.
Company Tesla. Which, if you have an investor who's able to buy back all the shares, is perfectly legal thing to say. But if you don't have an investor who's willing to buy back all the shares, it's really illegal to say. And there's an SEC investigation into Tesla, into Elon Musk right now because of this. Mm-hmm. And he's just generally started arguing with detractors on Twitter. He's made big cases about media outlets that are running negative articles about him. He's just suddenly very abrasive on Twitter. And a lot of people are starting to look at him and go, oh, you're slightly unhinged, aren't you? And it seems like he is getting a little bit unhinged. And then there's been recent evaluations of his factory's ability to pump out cars, and that it can't actually create as many cars as it needs to.
Your point. I mean, it sounds like you have an opinion. What's your opinion? Stop regurgitating negative press and tell me what your opinion is. Do you believe this stuff? Do you have a negative view of him?
I think that I had a very positive view of him. I think when he was speaking very little, he talked about going to Mars, saving humanity, saving the Earth, the important things for a technology company to do.
I think he still does that.
But he's become so confrontationally vocal that I just don't like him as a person anymore. I don't want to hear from him. I want to see things get done. I want to see grand plans, but I just don't want to hear him anymore. Which is a weird position for someone I used to hold in very high esteem. I wanted to hear all the time. And someone who still gets quoted very frequently in media. What's that big goofy smile about?
The fact that he's laughing at me not paying attention.
No, I'm actually stopped paying attention.
I hate you guys so much.
You know what's funny to me is like you can always tell when Thomas is like leading a story and when he has an agenda, because he'll ask the general statement of, hey, what do you guys think about this? And you'll start to answer. He goes, well, here's what the press said, and there was this article and this happened and this. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck do you think about it then? You're asking everybody else. You're just you're still on. I'm sorry.
See, Eric's been mean lately.
So my listeners
grumpy.
know these are my two best friends. That's where my life is.
I'm sorry. We can create a party in like 5 minutes if we hang this up.
I think Carolyn tried to join in earlier. We should have just told her to.
We didn't
Please.
kick her out. She could have.
Just tell her to replace Eric.
Was that she hates me? I'm pretty sure she hates me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too.
Yeah. John knows for a fact. That's why he's not talking.
He's not saying anything at all.
What are you supposed to say?
He's had to deal with the HR complaints about me. So
She doesn't hate you.
All right.
I got a buddy of mine over at Facebook. I'm trying to get him to tune in.
What?
I got a buddy of mine that I used to work with at Sony. Oh wow, I rarely mentioned the enterprise company I worked for, but a really good friend of mine I worked with in the enterprise. He's at Facebook now. He just happened to ping me on Facebook asking me if I was still into PHP, and so we have a back and forth going. I'm recording a podcast about PHP as we speak. Tune in. But,
Stephen Colbert made a joke last night about how millennials will never know what it's like to pay for porn.
We're still talking? Who's ever paid for porn is my question.
Yeah, I'm employed by a porn company. And that joke stung a little.
Did it? Does it surprise you though? Do you think a lot of people pay for porn? I mean, I guess you have.
I know a lot of people do.
But do you have the demographics? Like, is it 50 and up that still pay, or?
I think that's being kept from me. I think if I knew the demographics and saw the 20-year outlook, I would leave sooner rather than later.
What? You think you're on a downhill trajectory there?
I've seen the demographics, the age demographics for a previous company I worked with in the same industry, and it wasn't promising for a 20-year period of time. Like, most of these guys, given their apparent habits, are going to be dead pretty soon.
Okay, so this brings up an interesting concept, an interesting question. I think a good way to wrap up the show is if paying for porn is on a decline, which it sounds like you're stating it may be based on market research that you have an inside track for. when people don't pay for porn, does porn go away?
No.
Or do porn industries think of more inventive ways to get paid?
They stopped giving it away for free.
No, they can't. Well, that we can't stop that. That happens
that's
entirely
true.
on its own. Honestly, what's happening is that other people are innovating the industry, and the industry is stagnating over certain things. Things are very rapidly changing. If you see Twitch right now, there's like a 50% market share of Twitch, the video game streaming site, that is girls showing as much cleavage as legally allowed, and putting whiteboards on the floor so that when they write something down, they have to bend over. And these girls are making a lot of money. A lot. Other sites, other companies have taken notice. But from what I can tell, is the companies that are currently big haven't noticed and are going to get overwhelmed by the change in the demographics. But I mean, it's personal attention from a live person. That's honestly the direction that things are going. And monetizing that has been well explored in Twitch and other formats. Try not to get us on some kind of list.
Yeah. I'm ready to wrap this up. I got things to do.
Yeah, I gotta turn my fans back on, man. It's still like 85 here.
No,
Hey, Google,
117. It's 117
what's the
degrees.
temperature today?
117.
Expected temperature of 72.
72. It's actually cooler outside than it is in my office right now. I can assure you that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. I think
This has been episode 117.
118.
17.
17? Is it only 17?
Yeah.
Man,
Get ahead of
117.
yourself.
Yes.
We've done this 117 times.
You did the opening. Come on.
That's like
Eric's
116
living in the
times too
future.
much. And join us next week for episode 118. We can fix that in post.
I'm Tom Rideout.
I'm John.
I'm Eric
Condon.
Van Johnson. Keep
Keep
it
it
up.
Keep it ugly.
That was the weirdest ending we've ever did.
It was
I don't
not.
think it is.
Yeah,
I think
way weirder.